Hey, you guys, I just want to welcome everybody. Thank you so much for being here. My grandmother, all the way from Reno, Nevada, Carson City. 2 days ago, she said she wasn't going to make it, and Nancy was just finishing up salad, and I happened to look out, and I saw a car. I didn't know it was Darylyn, but I saw a car, and I'm like, oh, shoot, we got tasters. So my golf cart's up at the house at the time, and I said, I'll be right there. So I come down to my golf cart thinking that it's a wine taster, and it's Darylyn and my grandmother. So they left Reno at 9 o'clock this morning. So yesterday, my friend Dave said, who's the farthest traveled? And I'm like, well, Sierra's in Colorado, Sophie down San Diego, and then Kelsey flew in last night from Kentucky. And little Oceana. Yay. So, you guys, I'm going to start just real quick. My sister's going to come up, my brother's going to come up, and then I'm going to come back because I know you'll miss me. But I just. So, Ryan and Becca, this is for you. You guys, 50 plus years ago, when when the TV went bad and it said technical difficulties, please stand by. You know what our father, affectionately known as the chief, let's just throw that out there. Do you know what the chief said to us as little kids? Go up, stand next to the TV. I know I'm going off script here. There's little boys and girls, we had to stand next to the television until the technical difficulties went away. So we thought as kids that we fixed the TV, right? Right? So in July of 1969, I was 4, Ryan was 2. The moon landing, my dad had us convinced that they were landing on the roof of the house. Is that not a great chief story or what? Now, once we do the little scroll here on the photos, somehow, some way, in the second grade, this is about me, Ryan, not about you. In the second grade, I had a very important question to ask. I had two female teachers, Mrs. Papp and Miss Ferreira. Come on out, Miss. Okay, just kidding. Somehow, out on the playground, a certain finger was brought up, and I guess I took that home and I said, Mom and Dad, what's wrong with this little finger here? And my dad said, it's just a finger. So the next day at school, little Richie Rollins raised his hand, and I said, my dad said this is just a finger. And I got in trouble for that. The reason I bring this up is when you see some of these pictures, full circle, later in life, that middle finger is a sign of love with our family. And it's kind of a funny story. Ryan, a few years ago, 10, 15 years ago, had shirts made up because we would do a camping trip, fishing trip, the trout opener, we'd throw horseshoes, and he had shirts made up called 2 Up, 8 Down. And I apologize. Oh, I guess I should have apologized because there's little ones here. So what do you think, going back to the finger, what do you think 2 Up, 8 Down is? 2 fingers up and there's 8 fingers down. So that was kind of our little family tradition of showing love from one another. As you guys know, I'm wearing my dad's mullet shirt. When we were little and my dad played softball and basketball, we'd always go to his games. I would kiss my dad's bat before he went up to bat. And, years later, Ryan and I started the mullets after Cool Hand Luke. One of the lines is, yeah, you mullet. And so we called ourselves the Mullets, and then we got my dad and my Uncle Skip, who unfortunately my Uncle Skip's not here, but they both played with us they must have been in their 60s, right? At that point. And so in honor of my dad, I'm wearing the shirt. And over here, you guys, now on the trout opener, it's a big thing. The horseshoe throwing contest. So we have plaques here, and it goes back as far as 1990. And every year it shows who the winners were. So if you get a chance, they're right here. And the reason the Joe Montana picture is there, my grandmother's brother, my granduncle, yes, my granduncle, he used to do first down markers back in the 80s and 90s. So he did a lot of Stanford and Cal games. Well, in 1984, the NFL called him up and said, hey, we need your crew to work the Monday night game with the Niners and the Redskins. And of course, he said yes. Well, he got my father and my grandfather field passes, and my dad, as you guys know, sold cameras his whole life. So the picture down here of Joe Montana, the chief took that picture. My dad took that picture. Jerry Rice is right in front of Joe, and if you get a chance, you'll see Joe's baby blues, and it's just an amazing picture. So I wanted to share that with you. This back room is filled with photos of family and friends, and so throughout the day, you have a chance to go in there and just take a look at the history of our family. And I just want to just thank everybody for being here. So I'm going to have my sister come up. Yes. What's that? Oh yeah, make sure. So you guys, today's being filmed. So if you do want to come up and say a little something in honor of my dad, you're more than welcome to. But be sure to speak into the microphone because the camera's right there. So Becca, you ready? Ryan, how do I do this without messing it up? I'm not that tall. Okay, can you guys hear me? Okay. In honor of my dad, okay. My dad was an awesome man of God. God built his faith by watching my mom and many, many prayers from many family members. As a little girl, I remember my dad's camera equipment absolutely everywhere. And he back then he created a dark room in the garage. And he was a #1 salesman for Pentax. I don't remember what year. You're gonna have to ask Richie. For Pentax, and he had, oh my gosh, abundant love for his family and friends. I remember trips in the pop-up camper to Kennedy Meadows every year, where he taught me how to catch and get a fish. And after that, I went, yeah, I don't want to do it anymore. It was very gross. He loved to play that game my grandpa made for us, Grandpa Paul. I believe it was something like Sorry. He loved playing cards. I remember him teaching me how to ride a bike. They had ponies that came around, and he never had us go without, whether they had the money or not. We always had the pony pictures. We always went on trips. He always made sure that we had stuff. He took the time to teach me how to pitch, which wasn't an easy feat. Practice catching up pop-ups, and most importantly, how to treat people. He told me there is good and bad in every race, to always judge people by their hearts and their character. He taught me that building relationships is the most important thing and the integral to be a person of my word. One of the stories, you guys are going to get mad at me, but I'm going to tell it anyway. One of the stories my dad was proudest of me was when I was a little girl. I want to say I was 8. I don't know. But my dad was screaming for help. And in comes Ryan and Richie, and they see blood. And they went running for the hills. He was a fisherman, as you guys know, and he got one of those hooks in his finger that went all the way through, and then the hook went around. So I didn't know what I was doing, but I had to sit there and meticulously, is that a word? And gently and easily undo it and bring it through. But he was very proud of the fact that little Becca, little shy little Becca, was the one that helped him with that.
Oh, now I have to figure out. Oh, sorry, I went off script here. Um, and then he was, oh my gosh, when the grandchildren came, every single grandchild, it just softened his heart. And he was definitely a proud papa. He loved all his grandchildren and loved being a part of their lives. The most treasured time I treasure with my dad is the last 3 years when I was up in Oregon. I'm going to try to keep it together, as well as helping in Fresno. We got another level of closeness. I'm going to go back a little bit. Got another level of closeness like no other time. And I'm so grateful to God for that. He wanted me to pray with him and for him, him surrendering to the Lord wholeheartedly. And, as parents, we always hold on to things, right? And wholeheartedly giving everything in his mind, as our heart to God. And I know he's in heaven with Jesus. And say hi to Mom, Aunt Jen, Uncle Jim, Nana Alice, Aunt Burdette, and so many others. What a reunion it will be in heaven. Love, Becca, Camilla, and my dog, Buster.
Good job, Beck. She was incredible. When my dad was sick, incredible. Rock star. All right. That will make sense at the end, I promise. Eyes up here. Okay. Oh, all right. Well, real quick, I just wanted to thank Rich and Nancy for hosting the celebration. Really appreciate it. Perfect venue. My dad loved it here, and so this was the perfect spot to do this. So thank you, Rich. Nancy. Nancy. I didn't see you there. Thank you, baby. Thank you. And before I'm not going to be up here long, I promise. I'm like my brother. I promise. But I wanted to single out a few people three people that aren't here that are integral to the Rollins family, and that's my dad's siblings. I wish Skip was here, but we're recording this for him and a few other people. So, Skip, we love you. We wish you were here. I can't wait to get a hot dog with you. And then my dad's two sisters, Jenny and Georgette, who were great women. And what's that noise? Oh, I thought that was Nolan. Or my dad's here. Here? Come on out. And so I want to single them out because they were, when we had family reunions, it was a special time because we didn't get to see them all the time. Or I didn't, so I'll speak for myself. And Jenny was the matriarch of the family when our Nana died. And an incredible woman she was. And so I just want to mention their names because it's important. Okay, now on to the man of the hour. So, as you all know, I could say so many things about my father. I didn't know where to go. I went round and round, and one word kept coming back to me, and you'll never guess what it is. So I'll just say it. The word is shrimp. I know you're running the numbers now, so yeah. And so, what is a shrimp? It's not Robert, although you might believe so. Robert's expecting to be the butt of my jokes today. It's just kind of what I do. But I looked up what shrimp was, not a crustacean. It's a small, puny, or unimportant person. That's right. My dad, puny, unimportant? No.
My dad was the biggest man I will ever know. Not physically, and everything. He just was massive to me. He had so many things that were big. I'll start with his heart. He loved all of you very much, even Robert. He would be so happy that you're here right now because you were always such a big part of his life. Even up till the end, he would ask about all of you. How's Robert doing? He finally have the transition surgery, all that kind of stuff. But he did. He loved all of you guys, and he had the heart to prove it. And we all know my dad had a big vocabulary, right? Okay, you ready? Randy McDonald. Anybody? That was Ronald McDonald. These are just a few. So if you have some, yell at me. Andrew Bogus. Andrew Bogut played for the Warriors. Hey, Ryan, did you see Mo Spigot's shot last night? That was Mo Spates, Dad. Yeah, whatever. And two very special guests are here today that that were a running name for my dad. Probably, if he was here, he'd probably still say it when he saw these two gentlemen. So I'm going to have them stand up. And that's Dave Holling and Doug Snyder. We just put your hand up, right? Two of my closest friends, brothers to me. My dad could never figure out which one was which, so we called them Hollings and Snyders. Hey, how's Hollings and Snyders doing? Great, Dad. My dad had the heart, the biggest heart as it came to the biggest patience quotient, right? Wasn't he the most patient person on the planet? No. One quick story. On an airline, he's 5 rows behind me. The guy's blocking the view of out of Africa, which my dad hated, but he wanted to watch it. So he went from 0 to 100 in 1 second. One time, if he was here, he'd say, I warned him 27 times. No. He said, down in front, one time. I was sitting 5 rows up, as I said, and next thing I know, I see a pillow flying by my head, and I drilled the guy in the head. He turned and sat down. So just one story of it. His perfect patience. My dad was a big stud. He, everybody knows, well, not every, if you don't, he was an incredible athlete. Save it with the best athlete. He was the best athlete. I was number 2. Rich was number 3. He was an incredible athlete. One story I don't think I've told many of you. I was working the fair parking lot, directing traffic. I was in high school, and I was working on something for football. And this gentleman who was 20 feet from me, also working, he said, hey, man, what are you working on? And I said, I'm working on this move or that move or whatever. And he goes, oh, wow, you're an athlete? Turns out this guy played college basketball with my dad and just went on and on and on about how great he was. All the other stories you guys already know, but he was a big stud. All right. Now, the final, he had a big voice. Now we're back to shrimp. So my dad's voice could stop traffic. And if you haven't heard the shrimp story, raise your hand. Everybody's heard it. Oh, God. Okay. Well, I'll give you the Reader's Digest Virgin. We're at the Sizzler in Livermore. I'm 10, 12. Becca's younger, under the table, hiding. My dad, 27 warnings to the waiter to keep the shrimp coming. It didn't come. And so he belted out the loudest shrimp you've ever heard in your life. In fact, I'd like us to do it in honor of the chief. So I'm going to count to 3. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3. We're all going to yell shrimp as loud as we can. Are we good? All right. 1, 2, 3. Shrimp! Awesome. Last story. This picture. This is where I finally win with my dad. Okay, always a competition. I lived up in Oregon. He lived in a senior community, 10-mile-an-hour speed limit. The whole community. Okay, so I get there and he goes, Ryan, it's 10 miles an hour. Don't go over. Okay, Bob. I dare you to try to drive 10 miles an hour. Okay, it's very hard to do. So I went over a couple times, and when I went over by 1 mile per hour. So he laid into me. You're going 11. What are you doing? These people are gonna run me out of here. So if you look close, that's my dad driving, and it's a 12. I win. Thank you. You know, going back to my dad being a great athlete, and Ryan had to correct me on this. He had a scholarship to Oregon State, and Notre Dame wanted him to walk on as a quarterback. And in an all-star game, broke his collarbone on his throwing arm, ended his career. Hey, you little cutie. Ended up going to Cal State Hayward, met my mom, and then I came out 9 months later. It's a good story. But yeah, so our dad was a rock star athlete. You guys, I have the. You're seeing my shirt. Oh shit! I can't go off the script here or off the mic. I just want to say, timing is everything. Before the 2019 baseball season, I asked my dad a question that I knew the answer to. I said, Pop, if you can visit any baseball stadium, American League, National League, where would it be? If he said Boston, I was going to take him to Fenway. If he said Wrigley, we were going to Chicago. Camden Yards, we're going to Baltimore. I knew he was going to say Yankee Stadium because when my folks were living, Sylvaner Drive is represented today, so thank you for the Sylvaner Drive people. Thank you. And then my Aunt Louise is here. My cousins are here, so thank you guys. So what I did, this is again before the season started, and timing is everything because COVID hit in 2020. There was no baseball season in 2020. So I did this in 2019, and all I said to my dad was there was going to be a father-son trip that involves an airplane. And of course, I said, I'll tell you what to wear, what to bring, because he thought we were going fishing. You're going to see a ton of fishing pictures in this next room because that was like, my dad wasn't on the lake or out in Alaska or Baja. He was talking about being on a lake or Alaska or Baja. I loved fishing. So, and I have a little video that Ryan or Nolan's going to put on here a little bit. But anyways, I had these shirts made up. So this was my dad's shirt, if you can see it. And then of course I'm wearing mine. And then the back of the shirt is the picture of the United States with an arrow from Pleasanton all the way to New York. And it shows the date that we were gone on that trip. And I just wanted to bring this up because it was such an amazing time. And I'm telling you, we were like rock stars. Because when someone walks by you and you have something written on your shirt, you just happen to look down and people are like, June 20th, I said, it's now, it's happening right now. So people wouldn't even know we're coming up and taking pictures of us and videos of us. And we met this wonderful family, and they tried to be here. They live in Connecticut, Lisa and Bob. This Lisa, I'm about to read what you sent me. I haven't read it yet. I'm reading it for the first time here. Look at my glasses. But we met this family at the Hard Rock Cafe inside Yankee Stadium, and we just became. Our motto here at the winery is "Friends for Life," and we became friends for life. So I wanted to read. Lisa sent this little story that I'm going to be reading for the first time here. My treasured memory of Rich involves meeting him on just one occasion, but it just so happened to be on the day of his very special trip to Yankee Stadium with his wonderful son. My family and I were seated next to Rich and Rich at the Hard Rock Cafe right outside of Yankee Stadium just a couple of hours before the game started. They were seated after us, and I have to say they were absolutely beaming when they came into that restaurant. Their smiles lit up the entire place. I couldn't help
but to keep stealing glances at these two guys at the table next to me. Started reading their custom T-shirts. I'm taking my dad to his first Yankee game, and my son is taking me to my first Yankee game. Then I understood the pure joy in their faces is what the love between a father and a child looks like. And that kind of stopped me in my tracks. I had lost my dad just 1 month and 1 day earlier. I started thinking about the time I took him to Yankee Stadium years earlier, and I wondered if that's what he and I looked like on that day. I sure hope so. Anyway, I had to hear more about the story behind the custom T-shirt, so we started chatting, and they were only too happy to tell me and my family about all their adventure. And what a story. Truly the trip of a lifetime. Basically taking a red eye from California to New York for the game without much notice, I might add. I remember thinking to myself that Rich must have had some kind of stamina, because I'm not sure how good I'd look after a trip like that. But these two were bursting with energy and anticipation for the game. We shared some tips about Yankee Stadium, the Yankee Museum, and Monument Park, which is going to be part of my video. And thank you, Lisa and Bob. And we told them about the stadium entrance that opens 1 hour earlier than the other entrances, so they could have a little extra time inside. My family and I had attended an event for Yankee fans earlier that day. We had the chance to meet some former Yankee players, and we each received an autographed ball. I gave my ball to Rich, to my dad, and I know he loved it. Then he bought dessert for our table. Then we asked the waitress to take some pictures, and then we exchanged phone numbers. Rich Jr. told me about Tenuta Vineyards and their logo, Friends for Life. He said that's what we were now, friends for life, and he was right. We texted each other during the game and, of course, afterwards. Next thing I know, special bottles of wine and beautiful baseball memorabilia are arriving in the mail at my house. Rich wasn't kidding about friends for life. I'm blessed beyond words to have had the good fortune to meet Rich and his son on their journey to Yankee Stadium. I'll treasure that memory forever. So yeah, thank you, Lisa and Bob. So isn't that cool, you guys? I miss my dad. I wish he was here. I know he and my mom are here in spirit, but I have to say, Rick and Dave, if you happen to look at their shoes, those are shoes that belong to my father, and so he's part of him is here today. So thank you, Rick and Dave, for wearing the shoes. I have this. I have this video that Nolan's going to be starting. I want to say one thing. You know, Nance and I, we have Netflix and Prime and Hulu and all the streaming shows. And the one thing that makes me sad is we'd be watching a movie and the first thing we'd say to each other is, "Oh my God, your dad's going to love this." So I'm going to miss all those text messages of Hulu and boom, 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 Prime, boom, 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 and then he would fire back and say, "Oh man, those are great movies." So I'm really gonna miss that. So just thank you guys. There's tons of food, and again, after the video, if anybody would like to come up and speak, you're more than welcome to do that. So Nolan, if you can start the video for me, and thanks again for everybody being here. And hold the phone. The sun came like today. We're born again. There's no grass on the hill. Around the bed and headed for home. It's a brown-eyed, handsome man. Anyone can understand the way I feel. I'm ready to fight.
Don't say them so. You know the time is now. Put me in roll. I'm ready to play. Hey. Put me in roll. I'm ready to play. Today, look at me. Beat up young, a homemade bat, and a brand new pair of shoes. You know I think it's time to give this game a ride. The ball and touch the ball, a moment in the sun. It's a God in you, feel that one time. Baby, you're wrong. I'm ready to play. Hey, baby, you're wrong. I'm ready to play. Today, don't be Here is the first annual golf awards and putting championship. Rick's going first. No legs.
No legs.
All right, Papa, you're second.
Goes right, so. Shoot left.
Form. Oh, Papa with the strength.
Screamer, look at that though.
Oh, Papa's going out. I don't know if I got that.
It's in the hole.
I hope I got that. Okay, folks at home, Sunday, June 23rd, 2019. We are going on a father-son trip. Do I know where we're going, Pop? Where are we going? Open up this bag. Hold on, people. Hold on. Let me come around. Okay, Pop, open up your present. Want some look at this? Yeah. Turn it around the other way. What does it say?
It says, my son is taking me to my first Yankee game.
So we're going to New York right now.
Oh my God.
So turn it around so we can all see. My son is taking me to my first Yankee game. Now turn it around. See what the back says, Pop?
Well, that's cool.
Isn't that cool? So turn it around so the folks at home can see. So it's a picture of the United States with an arrow from Pleasanton all the way to New York.
Oh, cool.
And the date that we're going to be gone.
Wow.
What is that, Pop? You ready to go?
Oh man, that is cool.
Okay, this is from Ray Brandon, a high school friend of my dad's who unfortunately couldn't make it today, but he wanted me to read this. Hello to all of Rich's family and friends. I first met Rich in September of 1957 at Hayward High. After Hayward High, we lost touch for about 30 years. Then we found out we only lived a few blocks from each other, and a great friendship began. We both love to fish and talk about our kids. I will miss him. Goodbye and God bless. Love, Ray. Come on up if you want to. There's a shrimp. You gotta sit.
It's called payback.
Yeah. So Robert Hibbs, a friend of Ryan, grew up with Ryan. But anyway, I spent a lot of time at the Rollins house growing up. And one thing I always remember is we were probably 7 or 8, and we'd go over there. This has to do with the couch. The couch was always full, watching TV. So at some point, we'd see Chief sitting here, Nana over here, usually, and me and Ryan would sit down in the middle. They'd be watching Rockford Files or something. So we'd sit there. This is typical. Anyway, but you could always tell when the Chiefs started getting bored of what was on TV because everything would shift. He'd go like this, then you this, then the remote control would do this. But I don't know how he did it because he always had that clear shot at the TV, but he could always hit it perfect so that the TV would start changing channels. Anyway, but I miss those days. They were a lot of fun. Right, I talk about all the time how we'd just be over there bored, but the chief would always have something for us to do, whether it was work or coming up with some game to compete. Who could run up the stairs faster? Who could eat Cheerios faster? Or slower, but anyway, so I miss those days. I miss Paul and Rich, and it was a lot of fun. Thanks. You gotta have to.
Okay, there we go. Okay. Oh, Ron? Okay. So we're the Davises. We're on Sylvaner. We live right across the street from the Rollinses. So a lot of shenanigans went on between their kids and our kids. We actually had, we lived across the street, so we had full court basketball games across the street. We had a hoop, they had a hoop. And of course, Rich won every time. You know, he kept score, so there's no doubt about that. So the stories go on, and one of them is the Black Mamba. So, and now Rich, oh, by the way, Richie's offering Black Mamba wine there's a sale on. Yeah, I'm pushing it, Rich. Anyway, so Rich comes up with this Black Mamba snake, and he says, the fastest snake in the world. And we're going, you know, just another BS story from Rich. Anyway, so believe it or not, there is such a thing that was. So, you know, throughout the years, we had, it was just a lot of fun with the Rollinses and the Davises, and the other neighbors were really close, and we really missed him. He was kind of a mentor. Everybody owned Pentex cameras. We'd have meetings in the front yard. You know, he'd say, meeting, come out in front, because he didn't want to walk through the stairs. So we'd sit out in front and solve a lot of the problems of the world. Yeah. So anyway, great mentor on fishing stories, hundreds of stories. So we'll miss him for sure.
Yeah, so that's a lot that I remember too, is my dad, Richie, and Ryan playing full court basketball back and forth pretty much every day after high school, you know, after school and stuff. There's one funny story I remember about Rich. Do you guys remember that aluminum boat on the side of the house that was always, yeah, okay. So one night we were gonna go out fishing. I can't remember if it was going to Del Val or Shadow Cliffs. Anyway, he had that old rickety outboard motor. And so I was little, so I didn't know what the hell he was doing. But he had this plastic trash can. And he said, "Wait, we got to start this thing up before we go out tomorrow, make sure this damn thing works." I'm like, "Shit, all right." So he gets it, fills it full of water, puts this thing in there, and he's pulling it and pulling it and pulling it. It's not working. Anyway, he gets this thing fired up. It goes full tilt. He's hanging onto the dang motor like this. It goes over, hits the side of the garbage can, rips a hole in it. Water goes everywhere. The motor, he falls on the motor, and I was like, "I guess we're not using that motor tomorrow." So he's like, "No, we're gonna use our rows tomorrow." So I don't know, just a good guy, and a lot of memories, and we'll miss him.
Just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to say, Chris also had to come over and help my dad because he got a treble hook in his finger, and I took off running. So it was my sister and Chris that did that. Remember that? No. Kudos to you, buddy. I couldn't do it. You would have punched me. So going back, Dick and Chris, you just reminded me of something about shenanigans in the neighborhood. I wish my friend Andy was here because Andy and I, this was like we were in junior high, and my parents were across the street at the Davises, Yvonne, all the neighbors. It was some party over at the Davises' house. So Andy and I were up in my room, which overlooks their house, and we said, "Hey, let's go teepee the Davises." So Andy and Ryan, I don't know if you were there with us or not, but we run across the street and we teepee the Davis's house. Nick, I don't even know if I've ever admitted this to you, but I'm going to admit it to you now. So we're sitting up in my room and the party ends. We're not sure, it was midnight. So all the neighbors are walking out and then someone goes, "Oh my gosh, look what happened." Well, the Glanvilles, who were next door to the Davises, they weren't, I don't think they were home. They weren't at the party. They weren't home, or maybe they left early. So all of a sudden, Dick and Judy, my mom and dad, Yvonne, everybody else that was there, took all the toilet paper off of the lawn and the trees and whatnot, and they went over and they teepeed the Glanvilles. And they were giggling, and Andy and I are watching this whole thing. So they're giggling, they're teepeeing Eric and Suzette. So then everyone goes back. So guess what Andy and I did? We go to the Glanvilles, take everything off the Glanvilles, and we went back to the Davises and re-teepeed their house. That's the kind of neighborhood we had growing up.